President Obama rather, re-entering the campaign trail today in a big way and going after everyone, including progressives in his own party. Of course, finding time to give himself a little bit of credit for this booming economy. We want to discuss it all right now with our panel. Beverly Hallberg, president of District Media Group, Danielle McLaughlin, a liberal commentator, and Jillian Melcher, Wall Street Journal editorial page writer. Let me start with you, Danielle, since the soundbite we used covered what I thought the first part of this was to rally the troops, push back against President Trump. But to me, the other part was, hey, the establishment is losing. I need to go in there and help the establishment. I mean, think about the things he said about progressives. Don't fight fire with fire. Don't make stuff up. Stop name calling. Find common ground. And you don't need a messiah. Hint, hint, Bernie Sanders. I mean, that was some pretty tough stuff from a Democrat to Democrats.
He might have actually been talking about himself as well. I think people see Obama sitting on the sidelines, hoping he's going to come back in and join the fight.
So the messiah came back and said, don't look for the messiah.
Pretty much. He's saying this needs to be good, hard-working, decent people that we put into government. This is not about an authoritarian. This is not about somebody who's going to collect power. This is about regular people.
But do you see him pushing back against the burning wing, which is gaining momentum?
I think what he wants to see is people coalescing within the Democratic Party, because if they're divided, there's no way that they're going to beat Republicans in November.
Jillian?
Well, I mean, it's a tricky thing, right? Because if we have some of the stuff like we've seen at the Kavanaugh hearings, I think that really gins up the base for Republicans. At the same time, I think that we've got to energize, the Democrats anyway, need to energize their base. So there is a temptation to go more extreme. I think it's a bit of a gamble. And I'm also really interested in the politics of Obama going out now. Keep in mind, when he has not been on the ticket, 2010, 2014, Trump's deciding to make this election a referendum on himself. And we know he does well when he has a political foil. Yes. We saw this with all the Republicans when he was giving them nicknames. We saw it with Hillary Clinton. And I think the temptation is going to be for Obama to put himself out there well enough so Trump can hit it.
Beverly, I was watching your tweets while this was going on, and you know, they were very interesting to say the least, because you saw some hypocrisy there, even though you're not a fan necessarily of President Trump's tweets or some of his actions. You saw the hypocrisy also today.
I think there's a lot of hypocrisy. And by the way, gone are the days where a former president remains quiet during a current administration. I think former President Obama's speech today made me miss those days. He did come out strong on what he called divisive rhetoric. He blamed Trump. He blamed Republicans for really the climate of discourse these days. But he doesn't seem to take any of the blame at all. Let's not forget he did talk about people with guns and religion, talked about them negatively. I think a lot of the reason why President Trump did get so much support, did win the White House, is because people under Obama's administration felt like they were left out. So Obama, to me, is very hypocritical in saying that divided language is only because of Trump or only because of Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you start off your presidential run talking about people's guns and religion and them clinging to it, that's pretty offensive, isn't it, Danielle?
Absolutely it is. And actually, he took responsibility for Democrats in the past having been the force of division. He talked specifically about Southern Democrats and their role
by
not
that, by the way,
slavery. Because
when I talk to a lot of Democrats, and when you'd say, hey, you know what, you know, Democrats were, you know, the ones pushing slavery. It was a Republican, Abraham Lincoln. But not only that, throughout history, you know, until very recently, you saw Republicans who were at the forefront, civil rights bills, for instance, you know, that he didn't try to say that those were really not today's Republicans. He just gave Republicans credit for that. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, I don't think anybody's really going to argue with the idea that the party of Trump is not the party of Reagan, for example, or
but see, he didn't say
George
that, though.
Bush.
He didn't say that. President Obama didn't take time out to say that. He just simply gave Republicans credit for slavery, for civil rights. I thought that was refreshing.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, Jillian?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly was refreshing. Look, I think the risk here is he's coming in with a really high approval rating. I think only JFK and Reagan are more liked, more respected as past presidents.
Could he ruin that, though, by getting involved in a
absolutely. It's a situation where absence has made the heart grow fonder. I think him going out there and reminding people what he stood for, just from a policy standpoint, the heavy regulation, the lack of economic opportunities that we saw because government was stifling it. I think that's something that may galvanize the GOP in a way he doesn't intend.
Yeah, of course. And also, Beverly, it was interesting that even though it felt like he was pushing back against the Bernie wing and the Bernie momentum, he might have adopted a few things, right? He talked about the fresh idea of Medicaid for all. He reiterated no student debt. It's $1.5 trillion. Maybe there's a magic way of getting all that done. So what's the ultimate message for Democrats? And after today's performance, do they want to see him doing this more often?
I think this could be actually detrimental for Democrats in the midterms. The reason why is, while it may get out the Democrat vote, they were already going to come out there and vote, but I think this actually makes Republicans want to get out there because they listen to Obama and they're like, hey, we don't want more of that. One of the areas that I think just shows why people don't want Obama is he was taking credit for the economy. And that is just ridiculous. Let's not forget, during his 8 years as president, he blamed Bush for the recession. Now he's taking credit for the economy. I think a lot of people see through a lot of his rhetoric. He is a smooth speaker. He is a good communicator. But when it comes to the substance, I actually don't think he does a lot to help the Democrats in the midterms.
Well, President Trump said he had a hard time staying up during the speech. So, ladies, thank you all very much. It was great seeing you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.